This is an overview of literature for week 3. Sophocles grew up in the village of Colonus, a short distance north of Athens, and was likely from a wealthy family and received a good education. Athens was a major power in the Mediterranean world, a period known as the Golden or Classical Age, until the start of the Peloponnesian War in 431 BCE. Sophocles made technical changes to theater, including the use of scene painting and enlargement of the chorus, and brought in a third character called the tritagonist. Aristotle outlines the content for a good tragedy. It imitates real, serious, and completed action, uses stylized language, induces catharsis, which is the outpouring of pity and fear, in the audience, and mixes metrical speech and song. The 6 elements of tragedy are divided into form, the manner of presentation, and the objects of imitation. Plots should be non-episodic and follow the structure of recognition and reversal. Tragic plays should have unhappy endings. Characters should behave and experience what is probable and inevitable, and God should not be relied on to resolve events that are central to the play's action. Chorus is not an arbitrary character in the tragedy, but should play an integral role in the performance. Plot is the sequence of events, and according to Aristotle, the most essential aspects of tragedy, plot is the most essential aspect of tragedy because a tragedy is a representation of human action. In his Poetics, Aristotle lists all the elements of theater in the following order: plot, character, thought, diction, music, and spectacle. Aristotle claims that the best plots feature recognition and reversal that occur close together and even simultaneously. One example of recognition and reversal happens when the messenger arrives to tell Oedipus that Polybus of Corinth is dead and that Oedipus will be the new king. Good tidings quickly end when it is revealed that Polybus is not Oedipus's true father, and that a herdsman gave the child to the messenger many years ago. The rapid juxtaposition of recognitions and reversals and the ebb and flow of the plot add dramatic intensity and build interest and suspense from beginning to end. Catharsis is the release of extreme emotions for the audience related to both fear and anxiety. Hamartia is a Greek concept translated as a mistake, not as an intentional bad deed or evil character, but rather some tragic flaw or twist of fate that is out of the protagonist's hands. In this play, Oedipus does not kill Polybus and bed Jocasta out of incestuous desire or perversion. Rather, the entire city and Oedipus suffer on account of the mistake made by his parents, who did not ensure that he was executed at birth. Ironically, while Oedipus knows the answer to the Sphinx's riddle, mankind, he doesn't know the answer to the more fundamental question of his own identity. He has no idea of his true parentage, and in the action of the play, he discovers that he is both son and husband to Jocasta, both father and brother to his 2 children. According to Sophocles, Laos, king of Thebes, learned from the Delphic oracle that his son would kill him, so he ordered a shepherd to have his son by Jocasta exposed on a mountain. Exposure, a fairly common practice in the ancient world, involved leaving the baby in a wild place, presumably to die. It allowed parents to dispose of unwanted children without incurring blood guilt. A shepherd, however, discovers the infant and takes him to Corinth, where he is raised by King Polybus and Queen Merope. Tiresias appears in other Greek works, including the Odyssey. One myth explains Tiresias's physical blindness as a punishment by the goddess Hera. The scene between Tiresias and Oedipus dramatizes the paradox of vision in the play. The old prophet is blind, but he can see the truth. Oedipus has sight, but he does not know who he is or from where he comes. Having answered the riddle of the Sphinx, Oedipus does not hesitate to solve the present problem in the play of finding Laius's murderer and the cause of the pestilence. Oedipus's confidence leads him astray from reason. When Tiresias, the seer, formulates the riddles about Oedipus and the identity of the murderer, Oedipus does not even consider dropping his investigation and inquiry. Oedipus is a tyrannical figure from the mythical past conceived by Sophocles in the age of democracy. A very different leader than Oedipus, Creon is more reserved, deliberate, and smooth in speech. His character is consistent in subsequent plays such as Antigone and Oedipus at Colonus. Creon's reliance upon law and order leads to tragedy in Antigone, while his decency and fairness provide Oedipus a final haven in Oedipus at Colonus. While Oedipus displays many qualities of an arrogant despot, Creon seems specifically characterized as a democratic leader. In Greek tragedy, the closing lines of the play, usually issued by the chorus, reveal the play's moral or lesson. In this play, the chorus clearly states that no human can be exempt from suffering in this world. Peace is achieved, and the god's folly for twisting man's fate is removed only after a person dies. Sappho grew up on the Greek island of Lesbos. She was most likely both from a wealthy family and a very political family, because the entire family was exiled to Sicily later in Sappho's life. She is known for her lyric poetry. To remind you, lyric poetry is a private expression of emotion by an individual speaker. It's important to note the use of I in lyrical poetry, but remember, we cannot assume, unless it's specifically stated, that because the personal pronoun I is used, that the poem itself is autobiographical. We refer to that I as the speaker of the poem. It is often a fictional character, again, unless we know for sure that the poet is writing about himself or herself. Lyric poetry is also musical, but that musical portion is its reliance on rhyme and meter. Some scholars categorize lyric poetry in three subtypes: lyric of vision, lyric of thought, lyric of emotion. Key themes in Sappho's poetry are conflicting emotions, sublimity, where characters or people or issues are elevated or exalted, desire, jealousy, and affection. A brief summary of Sappho's work includes the facts that she repeatedly invokes the goddess associated with sexual desire, who is Aphrodite. She focuses more on women than on men, and on feelings more than on actions. So she's really more of lyric of emotion. She falls into that subtype. She was greatly admired by her contemporaries and continues to influence poets. And she is a symbol of love between women. This concludes the lecture PowerPoint presentation for the Norton Anthology of World Literature.